This is April.
And this is Tiffany.
And you're listening to the Tea of Life podcast, where we enjoy telling each adventure of life.
We hope that you enjoy listening today as we dive into this week's episode.
I am super excited today because I have a very dear friend of mine. I'm not going to tell you who she is yet, but let me tell you about her. So I've known her since she was in elementary school when I moved back to Marietta, and we attended the same church as her family. So like I said, she was elementary school. She's the oldest of three sisters, and her mom and her sisters and her would often babysit Kale when he was just like a wee thing, like 6 months old, just a baby. They're a super great family. So I've seen her grow up, but from afar, because we have the same circle of friends. Rather, I think I connect with your parents' circle of friends. I've seen you at some baby showers because your mom would throw showers for people. She'd throw a wedding shower. We always come across, back into each other's paths at those times. I would like you to meet my friend, Mary Miller.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. And there's one more thing that I wanted to start off with. She's a lefty. So I wanted to chit chat about that.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the real reason why you're here. But first, do you have any stories of growing up lefty?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so it's actually pretty funny. Me and my middle sister are the only lefties in our family.
Oh.
Like the only ones, even in our extended family. We cannot find anyone that is left-handed. So growing up left-handed was a struggle for us because we couldn't find notebooks that wouldn't hit our hands every time we tried to write, it was just a constant struggle. And even when you're little, you start to get calluses on your finger from how you hold a pen. So, I remember coming and being like, oh, my finger hurts. And my sister was like, mine does too. So, I was really the only person that understood. So, in certain aspects, growing up a lefty wasn't super difficult because you were able to modify it. But things like sports or writing, which I was both heavily involved in when I was younger. Those things were a little difficult because if you're left-handed and you swing left-handed or if you kick left-footed, everybody has to set up a little differently, not just you.
Yes.
So there's a lot of components going on with that. And I loved to write growing up, and I still do. So when a lefty writes, if there's spirals on the side of the book, they're always on the left side, which means that your hand always hits the spiral.
Very awkward position, I would imagine.
Yes, it is so awkward. And so I had to almost learn to lift my hand a little bit, or I would just get really frustrated and rip the pages out and just do it on regular paper. But then when I was a junior in high school, I will never forget this. Walmart came out with these spiral notebooks that had the spirals at the top. And they said specifically for left-handed people. Yes. So
way to go, Walmart.
It made our lives so much easier. And I probably bought 7 of them that day. So we're progressing into a world where lefties are becoming involved.
I saw. So for this podcast and to stalk you and to get some information for trivia, because I like trivia information, to use it at the cocktail parties that we do not go to. I do not go to. Tiffany, you might go to cocktail parties and share information that you learn from here. But I thought, okay, I'm going to get back to you, Mary. We're going to circle back around about your left-handedness. So did you know that left-handed people are called southpaws?
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, and did you know that International Left-Hander Day is August the 13th? Was August the 13th.
Okay, so I knew that there was one, but I didn't know the date.
So last month, this day that we're recording, and it was created 24 years ago to bring awareness to the issues left-handed people face. I thought that was not funny. It's not really funny.
Oh, gracious. Can I just say bless it? Why do we have a holiday for left-handed people?
What?
Yeah. Inclusion for all, I guess. I'm all for it, but it's a little strange. It's, hey.
Yeah, hey.
To each their own, right?
Presents for Mary on next August the 13th. She will accept whatever gifts. You can just say them out
whatever
here.
Gifts. I take Amazon gift cards. I love really anything,
Right.
Left-handed awareness.
She is left-handed awareness. I like that. So I have lefty celebrity facts. Do you know of any? Off the top of your head before you look at my list.
I read an article about this once. But it was a long time ago, so no, you can go ahead.
Okay, so aside from you, because you're a celebrity,
Oh, thank you.
we'll get into that in a second. So one of my favorites is Justin Bieber. Yes, I am a believer.
What? Okay, that's fabulous.
I am a believer, and ever since he met Jesus, I'm like, yes. See, Okay, so I like Justin.
That's
I'm
great.
just saying. Okay, my other fave is Angelina Jolie,
Yep.
Oprah,
Okay.
Julia Roberts, Barack Obama, Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Babe Ruth. I will end this list, I promise. Eminem, Legend of Zelda's Link. Okay, did you know that the Legend of Zelda game, Link?
But this is a character.
This is a character. He's
less
less
a character. An animated
All right.
character.
I mean, again, inclusion for all.
Inclusion. And I never guessed, or I never saw or noted that he would take his sword from the left hand. I don't know. My brother is lefty. My brother Michael, the middle.
Okay.
My middle brother. And Rylan.
Wait, can I throw out a fact there?
Yes.
Did you know that 7% of the world is left-handed?
Only 7.
That's what I read last, yes. And that we are actually, as a population, more intelligent.
I saw that, and that was debatable. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's actually very fair.
I read that, yes.
The fact that you said Albert Einstein and Charles
Yes.
Darwin and all these, Oprah, I mean, hello.
Exactly.
And Justin Bieber, I mean,
And
he
Link.
is incredible.
Don't forget Link.
Don't forget Link. I mean, we're all so
Yeah.
talented. But there is something to be said about that.
I think so.
I wonder.
So, okay, now we're going to get down to why we have you here.
All right.
I've been wanting to have you on the show, like I said, ever since I learned that you started your own business. Because the last I heard of you, you were still in college. Actually, no, I think you graduated and were a teacher. So how did that transition? And you can talk about teaching if you want.
Yes.
Talk about
Okay,
your life. Talk about your life, Mary.
Oh
It's
my
all about you now.
gracious.
Go.
So I graduated in 2015 from GCSU. So go Bobcats.
Go.
Loved it. I got my degree in early childhood education. So grew up loving kids. I knew since I was a sophomore in high school I wanted to be a teacher. So went and got my early childhood degree and got a job right after. So started that August. Okay. And I think what really drove me, there were a few things that kind of drove me away from the school system because I actually taught for a little bit and then left and tried again.
Okay.
And left again.
Make sure this really...
Yes.
Yeah.
I needed to make sure that I was making the right decision. And what really drove me, there were 2 big things, and one was kind of a physical factor that we can bring up in a little bit. But there was another side of it that just killed me, that was the system. So I loved my kids, and I loved who I worked with. But the system itself, especially the system in Georgia, it just, from my experience, it does not advocate for the kids. It is really all about the people that are higher up in the system. So as hard as that is to say, and as junky as that is, that really is the truth from what I experienced. And so I couldn't be in that environment. I'm very much an advocate, especially for our kids. And so if you know me, I'm just a huge advocate for a bunch of these different outlets, but one of them is for kids. And so when I even couldn't be a voice for my kids, that's when I just kind of had to say enough. Right. And so I left the classroom knowing that there are many different ways that I could be a teacher. And
Exactly.
so I didn't have to be in a classroom to teach. So I did a bunch of different things. I was a nanny. I now work for my dad as an administrative assistant. And I'm trying to go back to school to do a bunch of different things that I'm really not sure what I'm going to do yet. But something with teaching and psychology. So I'm thinking of a child life specialist or a speech language pathologist, something in the hospital. So I'm still teaching, but something like that. It's mixing a lot of things that I love.
Well, that's great.
Really cool.
And you explored those. Like you said, you always had a heart for kids and for teaching, and you went to school because that seemed the logical pattern. Graduate in that environment, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not the best fit. Your heart wasn't in it, like the reasons that you said. And then you're just trying still other areas, other avenues to still stay a teacher, or still in that mentality of a teacher, but a different outlet. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. So I like that. Okay, so you leave that and you're teaching. So where does Honey and Olive Lettering, your company, come in?
Yes, Honey and Olive Lettering. And the funny thing is, I wrote it very, like, people call it a millennial name, which is so weird to me, but okay. So all of it is lowercase, which I guess is like a very young
That's so
thing.
millennial. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I have
no idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So I just thought it looked nice. And then instead of writing and, I used a plus sign. And instead of using an ampersand. So I wanted to be a little different. I like being a little different. So some people call it Honey+Olive Lettering. Which it's actually, it makes me chuckle. But Honey and Olive Lettering, that's my company.
So where'd you get honey and olives?
So this is actually a really cool story. Okay. So when I started my business, and actually even before I started it, I started lettering as a hobby. And it was actually just something to kind of keep my time, because I found myself really bored. And I was still a little lost, because this was after my first stint of teaching. And so I was really just trying to fill a void, I guess, of something that I could do. And so I started lettering because I was told all the time that I had really great handwriting growing up. So I just started watching YouTube videos and going online and just kind of teaching myself.
Okay.
And I was really trying to think of a name once I realized that I wanted this to be something more than just a hobby. So obviously a big chunk of my life is rooted in the Lord. I mean, He is my number one. Thank you, Lord. And so a big part of what I wanted to bring into my business was rooted in that my passion came from the Lord, and that He gave me these gifts, and for me to be able to spread these to wherever and everywhere. So I really wanted to think of something very symbolic, but also biblical. So I was doing a lot of reading, and I'm in my Bible a lot, and I'm a big journaler, and I just came across a few different verses, and two of the big things that stood out was honey in the Bible, and then olives in the Bible. So honey symbolizes delight and joy and happiness, and olives symbolize peace. And so what I loved about those two words was that they went well together.
Yes, they
but that was also something that I wanted to make kind of my business mantra, so to speak, is that I wanted to bring delight and happiness and joy and peace and contentment into what I did, into my business, and then send it out to wherever it goes.
I like that.
So that's the meaning behind my name.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. I love it.
I really like that.
Thank you.
I love that. It's a hand lettering and calligraphy business focused in the wedding industry.
It is.
Stationery and event. So I checked out. We're going to tell everybody how they can find you.
So I have a website, but a big presence is on social media. So my Instagram is huge. So you can come find me.
Yes.
If you want to just come say hi, whatever, I'd love to talk to you. So you can find me at Honey and Olive Lettering. So it's all spelled out. No, it's actually not a plus sign.
Instagram, right.
Instagram,
okay.
It's all spelled out. And then my website, which actually just launched last month, so we're still in the works, but it's fabulous. One of my friends actually from high school helped me create it. So thanks, Chris. You're the bomb. It's pretty much the same. It's www.honeyandolivelettering, all spelled out, .com. So if you go on there, you can see a little bit about me, or a lot about me, because I love to rant, and there's a huge thing about me. You can contact me on there. You can contact me about services. You can contact me just to say hi. Seriously, I love to talk. So if you just are interested, I mean, really, can you hear me?
You're just a very personable person.
I would like
didn't
to
even make
think that.
sense, but you are very inviting, warm, and friendly. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Always been like that.
I have always been very chatty and I love to get to know people. So if you just want to come say hey, there's a contact form on there. And then, like you said, April, there's also a gallery where you can see all of the work that I've done that are kind of more of the formal kind of wedding looks. I do a lot of other things. I do t-shirt designs and I'll do prints.
Oh, okay.
So I dabble into a lot of areas, but where I try to focus right now is in the wedding and events industry because that is where I'm seeing a lot of fruitfulness.
Nice.
So a lot of my gallery is all of these works that I've done from various weddings. And luckily I can continue to build it up because my business is growing. So that's really exciting. But if you want to see a lot of my work, you can see it in the gallery part. And then I believe, there is a shop part, but that part is not up yet.
Right, so it's under construction.
Yes. Okay. So we are under construction because, to be quite honest, I can't figure out how to add things on there. So I just have to do some research on that part. I was on Etsy, but wanted to move everything into one place.
Yes, that makes sense.
For convenience.
So you told us about how you came up with your name.
Yes.
And I know that you mentioned all growing up, or people would say you have very nice penmanship or writing. And that's probably because you had to teach yourself a lot. Because I know a lot of teachers probably, I don't know what to do with you left-handed person. They just don't. I mean, I remember I was teaching even in special ed in the school system when there was a lefty. I was like, you got me. I don't even know. And that's why I think I had Rylan go to school at, private school. She is homeschooled now, but we had a private school. I was like, I don't want to teach her how to write. I don't even get that. But were you did you do a couple of maybe cards for friends and then it kind of blossomed somewhere, or how did that transition?
So what I started doing, I was actually a full-time nanny.
Okay.
And, kids color. He was one. And so we were coloring, and one day I just decided to pick up some crayons and write his name, and I was trying to do it really nice and pretty, and I was like, ooh, I like this. So then I just started writing cute little quotes with crayons, and then he was, scribbling on all the pages.
I noticed you're using your right hand, though, as your...
I know, isn't that so funny? I am a big gesturer. It's really funny.
It is funny.
It doesn't feel right, though.
Ambidextrous.
It doesn't feel right using the right hand. But, so I would do that, and that's kind of where it started. It all started there. So
very neat.
I would just start making prints, and then I kind of started buying the nicer pens and doing all of that, and nicer paper, and just trying a bunch of different things. And eventually found things that I loved. And then I started an Instagram and invited all my friends, and a bunch of them joined. And one of my friends tagged one of her friends who was having a bachelorette party.
Oh, wow.
And so I actually custom made her bachelorette invitations, which is like
wow.
It's crazy because going into lettering, typically you'll start with something a little more simple, not customize an entire invitation. But I loved it. It was so much fun. I got to, play with the different types of lettering that I got to do and just do kind of a mix and match of colors. And it was a lot of fun. Then I did the envelopes, and they were out in Texas.
Okay.
So actually, my first order was shipped off to Texas.
It's exciting.
Which was really cool. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then once I did that, it just kind of went from there.
When I was looking on your About page,
yes,
you have a lot of things on there. It was fun. It was light. And you had was it Myers-Briggs? I love that you said, and I was ESFJ. And I was like, that is so cool.
Yes. Okay. So little known fact, I'm super nerd, y'all.
I'm a nerd. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no.
It's about you. This is about you. So.
Oh my gosh, no. So I love to read. I love to write. Oh my gosh. And I love personality tests. I can't even tell you how much that I love.
Do you have an Enneagram number?
A what?
An Enneagram number.
Okay, see,
this is the latest thing now. Is I'm a 6, just so you know.
See, now you have to tell me all about this because now I'm gonna want to do it.
The Enneagram is it's like a personality test, right? So it'll tell you where you operate successfully, and then when you're having a bad day, it's like your counterpart. I'm not going to go into this because I can't explain it very well. But so I'm a 6, which is loyal. We like things done, black and white, systematic. So, and then when you're crazy, it's like a 2, which is, I think, I don't really know. Now I'm making this stuff up. But anyhow, okay, so my other thing was, do you have a planner?
Do you really want to know the answer to this?
Yes!
I have 4.
Yes, you are in my club!
Okay, so
No.
I'm not even kidding. We're having a hug. So I'm not kidding. I have 4 planners. Here's my issue. I love all of the really nice planners. The Erin Condren.
I haven't tried that one. I've seen
the plum planners. Oh, I've made my own planners.
Okay.
I mean, oh my Lanta.
You should sell them. There
Everything
you go.
under the sun. Holy
Passion
cow.
planner? Have you had a passion
No,
planner?
but
or
I
a
have
panda
heard
planner?
of them. And they are on my list. So I only... This sounds so bad. Everybody's like, I should only get 1 a year. And I'm like, I should limit myself to 5 a year.
Thank you.
Oh my word. And I'm also obsessed with calendars. So I have them everywhere. I mean, Sherbert Shop has one. I'm obsessed with them and they're local.
Have you tried a bullet planner? Ooh, Sherbert Shop.
Yep. I love bullet journaling. I've actually made my own of those.
Okay.
It's really crazy. It's super detailed and it has... Oh my gosh, most people in my life actually don't know this because I'm like really embarrassed to talk about it. But like,
you can share it.
On my planners, they have like, I've made a part where like you drink water every day and you like cross off the amount of glasses that you drink. Mm-hmm. And then it has hourly, and then I have daily, weekly, monthly. I have a place where I can just bullet journal. I have a place where I have my gratitude. It's insane. I'm unreal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I get those looks. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I love
the thought of having a planner to where I have to plan out all that stuff, like, stresses me out. I am not in the details. Like,
I can understand that.
I am like a big idea kind of person. I can cast ideas. I'm an idea caster. And I'm like, hey, you know what? We should do so-and-so. Get back with me when you have the details on that. Like, that's totally me. I'm not in, so those those planners.
Hey,
but I don't know how to
fair.
I don't know how to get from starting to ending, so that's why I need this. And but my Panda planner, that I love the gratitude. The Panda planner breaks out tasks as well. What are you thankful for? I mean, they all do, but I like that you adapted your own as well. See, I watched. That's what I was gonna say. I went on YouTube and I watched like how to use your passion planner. And I was like 4 hours later, I'm like, and I went on to other planners. I saw unboxing videos of planners. I was like, oh my gosh, that is my job. I would like to just be responsible for going through planners and like rating the editor of planners or whatever, and an editor of book. I'm just like a book editor. I would like people to give me all the books that I want to read. Like I want my job to be all those books that you want to read. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is put them in your planners, and all you have to do is read. There, I'm done.
Wow, I would love that job too. Oh, that would make me so happy. It's called Bloom Daily Planner. I've actually never owned one. I tried one out. Bloom Daily Planner.
Sorry.
Yes, like a bloom, a flower bloom. Mm-hmm. And I am on their like secret Facebook page. I hope it's okay that I said that. But there's like a few of us, and actually I got one of those because they found me on Instagram and wanted me to letter it and just to show my lettering in their planner.
Wow.
So it's almost like a little sponsorship type thing.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is so
they gave me samplings of like 5 different things, and I got to use them and letter them, and then I just posted them. And you can find those on my Instagram too. And Bloom Daily Planners, they have great people organizing that. So their planners are really cool. And they have the little like 8 glasses of water a day. That's actually where I got that part from. But then I watched just ton of stuff on YouTube, and I also went on Pinterest for bullet journaling.
Oh,
Pinterest is the bomb for learning how to make your own bullet journal. It's great.
Oh my god.
So if you love to plan, if you are a hot mess like me and you just have to have some order to your chaos.
Yes. Sorry.
That is literally me. You need to find a planner.
I love
for
it.
real.
Yes, I love
or
it.
make your own.
You were recognized by Bloom Daily Planner.
Yes.
Okay, and I also wanted to hit the MarthaStewart.com, the article you're on.
Yes.
So I'm going to put that. Mary is featured in an article. Mm-hmm. She and another calligraphy lefty, right?
Yes, and she is KPH Letters.
KPH Letters. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I cannot say enough about this woman. She is amazing. She has like thousands on thousands of followers, so she's way ahead of my game. So I felt like I was way out of my league when the article came out because they called us pros, like professionals. And I was like, I'm literally not. Like, I have 600 followers, maybe. What?
That's awesome.
But I mean, it's just such a cool community. And so if you actually search the hashtag Lefty Calligraphy on Instagram, this is actually where you can find a bunch of left-handed calligraphers. And that is actually how Martha Stewart found me and KPH Letters. But yeah, searching hashtags, that's really how companies find you.
Oh.
So I've gotten a few companies to find me, but Martha Stewart, that was huge because, I mean, hello, it's Martha Stewart.
Yeah, it's Martha Stewart.
That was awesome.
Okay, she went to prison years ago.
We don't
she came back from that.
We get, redemption. I'm all about that redemption.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody still loves Martha Stewart.
Yes.
She's still the queen of so many different things.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was in this article about tips for left-handed calligraphers or even just left-handed people that wanted to learn calligraphy, that was super cool because it's also a big part of my vision as my business. It's just to bring all of these things joy and delight and happiness to other people. So if people are left-handed and they want to do something creative, or even if they just want to make it a hobby, they don't have to make a business out of it. I just did because it just helped fill my time and I love doing it. But if you wanted to do something for a hobby, there are so many resources. Even just going on Instagram, like I said, and searching hashtags, you can find videos, you can find a bunch of different pictures. They have free letter drills. Pinterest is also your best friend. I mean, there are so many different resources, and I'm still constantly trying to figure out all of my letters and how I want to do them, and it evolves over time. But it's really cool because there's just a ton of resources. And so to have somebody highlight left-handed calligraphers, it's really cool because especially a lot of the pens out there, like the famous Tombow pens, which I actually do have right here, they're really not good for left-handed people. But like so many left-handed calligraphers, they've adapted. I have not learned yet. I'm working on it. But they're very difficult for left-handers to use. So I know KPH Letters, she uses them and she is fabulous. But I started with like a smaller pen. So yeah, my journey was a little different, but I'll get there.
That's just cool to be recognized and validated, like, oh wow, this is a gift that I have and I can share on this platform, whether it be here in a podcast or with your friends, and then they tag you and then they say, hey, my friend Mary, is doing this. And so to be in this Martha Stewart, I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to make sure people knew that about you and to shout out because I think that's a great accomplishment.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
What favorite pens
do you have
that they don't smudge?
Actually, it's so funny because nobody has ever asked me this question.
Good.
And I would think somebody had by now. I would have thought somebody has asked me. But my favorites they are made by Tombow, but they're called Feuds. The longer name is Feudnowski.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I could have said that totally wrong, so I'm sorry, Tombow, if I said that wrong. But they're called Tombow Feuds. Okay. So they're soft tip. I like the soft tip. So they have hard tip or soft tip. But the soft tip are like felt, and they just glide easier. So I have found for left-handers, pens that glide more are actually easier for us. I don't know why. My sister said the same thing. Really? The one that's left-handed. Yes.
Okay. But they all probably smudge unless you adapt your hand a different way?
Unfortunately, yes. Okay. So one of the things, and I talked about it in the article, one of the things is that you have to kind of learn to hold your pens up a little higher, which is also really uncomfortable.
Does it hurt your wrist?
Yes. Okay. And your hand just gets tired. My hand will cramp up easier. Or you have to slant your hand to the right. Ow. But that's so hard. Right. Or you slant the paper, but then your lettering is slanted. So really, you can't win.
Right.
It's some extra effort. But if you put in the time.
Right, it looks great.
You can get
your stuff. Looks.
Thank you. Oh, I also have another favorite pen.
Okay.
Because I have to shout out. This is actually my number one favorite. They're the Pentel Touch Sign Pens. And they're the same, but they're basically like Feuds. They're the same thing. I just am obsessed with Pentel. They don't run out as quickly.
So you have your favorite pens, but what favorite specialty tool?
Oh, gracious.
You have one of those.
So, I should be a very good calligrapher and say that I have a certain nib and a certain holder that I love.
Which is the nib, which is the pen, like the quill pen top.
So that isn't my favorite, but I'll talk about it. So the nib is the little metal point that you actually dip in the ink.
Yes.
So those come separately because there's a nib and then there's a nib holder.
Right.
So you put the little nib, which is the metal part,
piece.
You put it into the nib holder. So this is where it gets interesting. Left-handed calligraphers, their nib holders look completely different than right-handed nib holders. Yes. So the right-handed nib holder, it almost does, like it goes up, obviously, and connects. But then on the bottom side, it jets out to the right, and then it goes down. Okay. So down is the part that you hold. Whereas a left-handed nib holder, it's just like straight like a pen. I have no clue why. I actually bought a right-handed quill when I first started because I had no idea.
Because you had no idea.
The difference.
No one told you.
This is not advertised, and it does not say on the packaging. Come on now. Should put not for Southpaw on here.
Then I totally would have gotten that.
I would have known. No, I would have been like, what is Southpaw, and why do I need to know this? But I bought one, and I could not for the life of me do it because it jets out, to the left, and I'm trying to write with my left hand, and the pen is like behind the nib. It doesn't work. So on that aspect, it makes sense. But anyways, it's just hard to wrap your mind around. There's so many tools. Seriously, so many tools. There's so many types of pens. There's so many types of nibs, like thickness, thinness, what types of metal the nib is. There's so many types of quills. I'm going to keep calling them nib holders because I really,
that's what you're used to.
There's so many types. I have a really cool wooden one that's actually like dip dyed in marble. So I use that for like special occasions. I use that for like really nice weddings. But
this is my nib holder for everyday use. And
this is the big gun nib holder. So there are really cool tools out there. But I will tell you, my favorite tool that I have is my Lettermate. Do you know what a Lettermate is?
No. No, what is a Lettermate?
Okay, so I firmly believe, letterer, calligrapher or not, everyone should own a Lettermate.
Okay, tell me what it is. I gotta go get it.
Can you tell I'm so passionate about these Lettermates? So a Lettermate, it's basically this plastic rectangle. And it has cutouts. Well, it has rulers on the end. Like, it has measurements on the end. And then it has cutouts in the middle. And it has 3 or 4 cutouts, depending how large of a Lettermate you get. And I have an actual Lettermate, and then I have a knockoff Lettermate. And honestly, I actually love my knockoff Lettermate better. Yes! And I have my knockoff Lettermate. It's actually my favorite because the top line is actually twice as thick. So you put these... For those that don't know what a Lettermate is, you put it on an envelope. Or something that you need to write, in
a neat line.
And it's basically to address your envelopes and so that everything is straight and everything is spaced correctly. And I'm actually obsessed because I do a lot of envelopes.
I do like this.
This is great.
It is amazing.
This is awesome.
Lefties and righties. So it's
non-discriminatory product.
Yes.
And there is a knockoff. So I bought both of mine on Amazon. So I'm obsessed with Amazon. Amazon junkie over here.
Love Amazon.
So they're actually not that expensive. But I guess if you're not in the lettering world, you might be like, what the heck? This is like $12. I promise you it is worth it. Especially if you write a lot of letters. Or for those DIY brides out there or the DIY people. This is perfect because you don't have to go and buy a calligraphy laser level. Which that is a thing. And I am and I am working on purchasing one, but they're so dang expensive. So it's actually like a laser level that you see in
like when you build
architecture. Yes. But
can't you just use your dad? Doesn't he have one? I'm sure your dad has
he does. But I probably could jerry-rig it
I've
or
seen
whatever.
one in the construction world.
Yes, so they have them, and they're on these like mats that the paper cutters.
Yes,
like this thing. It looks like that, but it has a laser level, and you can move the laser level. It's amazing. So I'm saving up for one of those.
That is really cool. Well, that would make sense in your business. It would help you out. Productivity,
Correct.
speed.
So until then, the Lettermate is my best friend.
This is a whole new world. Yes,
it's amazing.
It's a whole new thing. Okay.
And then everything looks so professional, which I love.
Yeah, I like that look of professional.
So even the letters that I write to my aunt. So I write letters to my aunt
because I love letters. I love getting letters.
Oh my gosh! Can we talk about just lettering? Oh, and letters. Okay, so another huge reason.
She's in a zone.
I'm in the zone. So another huge passion of mine is snail mail.
Yes,
it is,
girl.
Oh
yes.
Okay, you can be one of my new pen pals.
Snail mail is coming back.
Snail mail is coming back, y'all. It is coming back, and I don't care who brings it back, but I am going to be in that tribe.
I wrote letters to 3 people this week, and okay.
So actually on Instagram, they're called pods, and you know how you can direct message people? Well, you can also direct message a bunch of people.
Right.
So you can add up to 15 people, and you can actually make them, we call them pods. So you invite all of these people. So I actually have a lettering pod. So all of us are letterers and calligraphers. We're in this pod. And then we send all of our posts into the direct message. That way everybody can go like and comment on it. They can see our work. And then we all inspire each other.
That's neat.
We ask each other questions. It is. It's a lettering community. And I actually got to meet one of my lettering pod friends. And I cannot even tell you the joy that I had of meeting Erica.
This is so funny. Like, I never knew this existed. You know, like, that's...
Oh, my gosh.
The little celebs to each
she's
other.
just a hobbyist, but I'm just going to say this, she's more talented than me. Like, this girl, I am telling you. I'm like, Erica, you need to open a business someday, girl. You will move mountains. And... I think she just loves to do it. And she's a mom. She's a sweet little girl. They just moved to Florida.
Right here.
So she's got a whole lot on her plate. But I love her. She's a gem. I've met so many people through my pod. And I've just gotten so much advice. It's wonderful.
That's neat. Little community. I like that.
Little community. It's great. Oh, yes. So snail mail. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is what happens. I go off on tangents. So snail mail. I'm a huge proponent of snail mail. So that is actually... kind of what a few of us started in the pod is we wanted to be snail mail buddies because some of us had this huge drive to just keep writing letters. And I think that's a big part of our lettering too, is just to keep practicing, keep writing. So like, of course, we would all go all out when we addressed the envelopes and when we made the front of the cards. Yeah, no, I have a stack in a shoebox at my home because I'm obsessed.
Decluttering, no one would declutter.
So it's wonderful. And so I love snail mail because A, you get to practice, and B, it's just connecting with other people in this world that isn't technology, which I love.
Yeah.
So I write to my aunt, who I haven't written in a while. I'm sorry, Aunt Kelly, because she will be listening to this. I'll write to you soon.
Hi, Aunt Kelly.
And I write to some of the girls in my pod. So it's really cool. Snail mail is coming back. We will not let USPS die.
Exactly. Because I get more junk mail. And I'm tired of that. I want to get real mail. Real mail. Real people mail.
You know how excited you get when you get mail?
Yes.
Like, I get so excited if I buy something online and, like, an Amazon box arrives in my house. How excited do you get?
Yes, you get very excited.
So, letters are just, to me, even more exciting. Especially when they have your name on them and they're... Oh my gosh, I love them.
Somebody made something for you.
Yes. They took the time out of their hearts to write these lovely things for you. It's great. It's great.
It's a whole other podcast. Okay, so I had like 3 more questions to ask, and so one is I want to talk about, and if we get your volunteering passion.
Yes.
And I know that this month is National Spinal Cord Awareness Month.
It is.
And that you have a heart for peer mentoring at Shepherd. So, or you want to start that or do that, or what's that about?
So,
Tell us how that started.
So I told you earlier, I am a huge advocate for so many different groups. I just have a huge heart for advocacy, and I mean,
snail mail was one of them.
Yes, it really is. But I love to advocate, especially for people that can't advocate for themselves, or people that may not have access to advocate for themselves. So people like children, or the disabled, or special needs. Those are huge things that are just a big part of who I am, and advocating in that aspect. So one of the reasons that I just kind of started putting my heart into volunteering is because I just love to do that. So in college, I was actually in the service sorority. Okay. And it's a national service sorority. And it's called Gamma Sigma Sigma. So it's not Panhellenic, but it's wonderful. So we have 7 service partners. And basically what you do is you just volunteer all the time. And we got to do so many different things. So we got to work with Alex's Lemonade Stand, which raises money for childhood cancer. Yeah. And that's everywhere. I'm sure everybody's heard of Alex's Lemonade Stand. We did stuff for March of Dimes. So we would decorate baby onesies and deliver them to the hospitals. One of the big things, I used to have nights when a lot of the sorority girls would come to my house, and we would make cards for the people at Shepherd Center.
Yeah, okay.
And Shepherd Center is big in my heart because, like you said, this month is National Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. It's a mouthful. So Shepherd Center is a big, huge facility that is near and dear to my heart. And they actually are a rehabilitation center that focuses on people who have suffered from spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, other diseases like Guillain-Barré syndrome, MS. They have an MS center. They also have a pain management center. They have a stroke center, and they also have a military initiative. Okay. So they really cover everything. It's amazing. And it was started by the Shepherd family, and I actually got to meet Mr. Shepherd. But that kind of goes along with my story. So the big reason that I am huge into Shepherd Center is because when I was 18, I actually broke my back and was paralyzed from the waist down instantly. And so that was when, I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, it was the winter. You went skiing, or was it? I remember hearing, Mary is in the hospital. Yeah.
Yes, I had gone sledding. And I had finished my first semester, and I had gone back to college. And then the very next morning, they had called off school, and we all just went out. Me and everybody in my dorm, we went out, and we were sledding. And I had been sledding all day long. And we went down this really steep hill, and we went over a bump, and we went airborne. And when we came down, it was me and a friend on the sled. And when we came down, we got stuck on a patch of ice. And so instead of coasting out of it, when we went airborne, we dead stopped. And so the force of that pushed me down and forward. So thank God I didn't hit anything. Like, I didn't run into a tree. There wasn't any kind of bloodbath or anything. That was really gruesome. But there wasn't any, like, gruesomeness to it. But I was paralyzed instantly. And so luckily a lot of my friends that were with me were in nursing school. And so they stabilized me, and they all were in a group called Campus Outreach that I was a part of my freshman year, which is a Christian group.
I was a part of Campus Outreach.
Yes. So I was part of Campus Outreach my freshman year, and almost the whole side of my dorm was as well, which was really cool. So they all just formed around me and were praying over me because obviously I was in shock and couldn't understand what was going on. So kind of fast forward a few hours, I went to a hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is in the middle of nowhere for those of you that do not know. And I love Milledgeville. It has a huge place in my heart, but this hospital is good for a broken finger. That's about it.
Right.
They just don't see, there's not a big population. And so they don't see a lot of very traumatic cases. The ones that they see, they send to Macon, which is about 45 minutes away.
Especially from sledding.
Yeah. Correct. Yes. Snow, ice, like what? In Georgia, what on earth is going on? Yes. So after a lot of scans, they found out that I broke my back, but they still didn't really understand why I couldn't feel from the waist down. And so the doctor just kind of was like, I think she's paralyzed, and told me, and luckily my best friend was there. And so she was there to kind of help me process. And at that point, I started feeling pain. Yeah. So I actually started feeling back, but in the sense of like mind-numbing, screaming my head off pain. Like, people were having to come in and say, you need to stop screaming. Like, people think somebody is dying. And I was like, I literally can't help it. And they weren't able to give me medicine because they didn't know what I had or if I had internal bleeding. They didn't know. So they weren't able to give me anything. I know.
Mental note. Yes. Don't ever get hurt.
Right. Yes. Be very careful. Do not sled down a long hill, children. So I ended up getting transferred to Macon. And one of the crazy things that I tend to leave out of my story, but it's actually incredibly important, is that when I was in the ambulance, I didn't find this out until after I left Shepherd, but in the ambulance, I actually died. On my way to Macon.
Oh my gosh.
I flatlined. And so, actually right before, I kept repeating myself over and over again to the EMT. And I just kept saying, will I ever walk again? Am I going to be okay? And I was going in and out. I think I just kept passing out from the shock. And I remember kind of waking up at one point, and I just stopped asking questions. And I just was very calm and very peaceful. And I'm a very anxious person, so that was very weird. Yeah. So I was very calm and peaceful, and then the next thing I know, I wake up again, and the EMT is right in my face, and he's praying. And I see a cross necklace in my face. So that was pretty crazy, and I honestly forgot about the EMT in my face and the cross necklace. I honestly forgot about it because of everything that happened afterwards. But it's really important. Yes. Super crucial for later on in the story. I get to Macon, and they do some more x-rays. And at that point, my parents had actually made it down to Macon. And they were closing the highway as my parents are driving. So my parents are driving, and they're closing the exit right as they pass it. So that's another Jesus thing. Wow. I mean, I'm not kidding. My mom said every exit they passed, like they were passing it right before they closed it because of the ice. So they got to Macon, and they were there when I got there. And so we had to take some more x-rays, do a lot of stuff, and that's when my neurosurgeon saw that one of my vertebrae had actually fractured, and it was a burst fracture. Wow. So it really, honestly, what he basically told me, I think I passed out again when he told me, and they showed me a picture. I was like, oh goodness, I think I really did pass out. But basically, the front wall of your vertebrae stays like fine, but the back part, it looks like a bomb, like went off. So I had hundreds of pieces just floating in my back, and a few of them were lodged into my spinal cord, which is why I was paralyzed. So he did some tests on my feet just to see if I could feel or if I actually had a reflex. And one of my toes, he said it moved like a milliliter. He got like this close to my feet. So if you don't like feet, sorry. But he got super close, and like one of my toes moved like a little. He said the naked eye wouldn't have caught it. Right. But he saw it and rushed me into surgery, like emergency surgery. So I was in surgery for 4.5 hours. And he just completely took out all the little pieces and basically created my vertebrae again. Like, he remolded it. And it's amazing. Wow, that's crazy. Just doctors are incredible. Especially my doctor. But I'm partial. I mean, seriously, he saved my life. Yeah. And so he rebuilt my entire vertebrae. And as he was, this is another just like crazy Jesus thing. And oh my gosh. So as he was pulling the pieces of bone out of my spinal cord, what happens is when you're paralyzed, the reason that you're paralyzed is if something punctures it, or if something like goes through your spinal cord. The reason you become paralyzed is when your fluid leaks, or if something's pressing on it too hard. So why I was paralyzed initially was because there were pieces of bone fragment pressing on those nerves, so it wasn't sending the signals down. So when he pulled those out, he had already prepared my family for the fact that I probably would be paralyzed. So as he pulled each one out, and there wasn't just one, like there were multiple, he pulled every single one out, and
little fragments.
Yes, of bone. They were wedged in there. Like they were in there. As he pulled them out, no fluid leaked.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
As he pulled them out, nothing leaked. Like,
yes,
you
and
would
they
expect
were
them to.
well, they were actually lodged in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no science.
Yeah,
that's
just a Jesus thing.
Yeah, that's a Jesus thing.
Right, because when you have a tube, a straw, and you poke something in it, and you take said thing out, it would leak.
Correct.
Right. By definition.
And so even like when I got out of surgery, obviously I wasn't very coherent, but he was telling my parents all of this. Like, I can't explain this. Like, I was pulling out all these fragments, and nothing was coming out. But he was like, regardless, she will probably never walk again. So this was a big theme in my life. You'll never walk again. You'll never walk again. You'll never walk again. Right. And of course, the first thing in my mind as an 18-year-old was, I cannot go back to college. And I like lost it. Lost my mind. I was very involved. I was in an education group. I had started up a chapter for education students. I was just so involved. And so I'm not kidding to say that my heart was broke. It was, oh my gosh, it was 50 shades of broken. Yeah. And so that was the worst of it. And honestly, I just kind of knew in my heart and in my soul that I would walk again. And a lot of people said that I was just being naive. But I was like, no, I don't think so. So 3 days later, I actually got up and shuffled around with like 3 people holding me up and with like a, oh my goodness, with a walker. Thank you. But I shuffled. And so a representative from Shepherd Center was called after that because everyone wigged out, obviously. They were wigging out.
Supposed to do that.
Right. And I mean, I had a custom back brace on. Like, I wasn't allowed to get up certain ways. So, like, for me to be able to do that was unreal. Like, defied all expectations, which is super cool. So they brought in a representative from Shepherd Center. And they had me do my whole little shuffling thing again for her. And she was like, we have to have you in immediately, but we have no beds. And so, again, I'm crushed because I'm like, this is the only way I'm going to get better.
Right. Like,
what in the world?
Only a sleeping bag.
Just put me on the floor. I don't care. I have this brace. It's cushion enough, right? So, miraculously, she called us 2 days later and said, there's a bed available. It's on the adult floor, but you're 18, so you can go on the adult floor. Because you have to be 18 and above. They have a children's unit. That's 11 to 21 or 12 to 21. Then they have an adult unit that's 18 and above. And because I was 18, luckily I was able to go on the adult unit. So she said, we want you to come and fill this bed. So 3 days later, I was packed in an ambulance and I was driven to Shepherd Center. And over a month's time, I relearned how to walk.
How much?
After
from never walking again.
I say walk loosely.
Okay.
Right. So obviously, the first 2 weeks, I couldn't even sit up to brush my own hair. So I just lost all sense of anything in my body. All my muscles were atrophied from the waist down. A lot of my muscles from the waist up were atrophied. I wasn't using them. I really could just lay there, and that's about it. And so I had to learn simple things like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair. For some reason, for me, this was important, putting my makeup on. I guess just having some sense of normal was something that I wanted to do, but I had to relearn all of these things and retrain my muscles. Like, hey, you got to work. And then, it was learning how to sit up in the bed and then learning how to lay back down without just plopping down. And then learning to turn in my bed. And then learning to get in a wheelchair because I wasn't allowed to go straight to walking. Everything had to be done in a wheelchair first. So That was actually incredibly humbling as well, because I mean, my whole life was flipped upside down. And even in Shepherd, knowing that I could walk and knowing that I could do all of these things, they still told me, you probably will not walk. Like, you probably won't be able to. Wow. So they saw me shuffle. Right. But they were like, that doesn't mean that your muscles will strengthen again, or that you'll be able to have the tenacity to do it. Like, your body really may just not be able to. Like, you won't be able to. Right. Wow. So there were still a lot of no's there. Sure. And so I kind of went the opposite way that most people go. A lot of people will get depressed and really sad and upset. I did the exact opposite, and I was super happy and super peppy. So, like, my coping strategy was the opposite of most. So actually, it was a blessing in disguise, because I was able to, I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit just came into my body that month and got me through that, because there was no way. Yeah. There was no way I could have endured what I endured in there. Just a lot of the counseling and a lot of the things that you see and the people that you meet and the stories that you hear. I mean, it's traumatizing just to hear. And so to be going through your own battle and hearing a room of 15 other battles, or to hear someone coding across the hall, or to hear somebody falling out of their bed, you know, it's terrifying. And so the only way that I got through that was, I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit came into my heart and came into my body and took over. Yeah. And I truly believe that that's why I was on the opposite end of the spectrum, because I was just so happy and so full of joy. So happy and so full of joy. Like, I obviously had my moments where I would be upset and where I'd be angry and where I would cry, but I will tell you, I never asked why. I never asked why. Not in the hospital. I never asked why. And so as I was learning to do all of these things in a wheelchair, that was kind of the deal. Was that if I was going to learn to walk, I had to learn everything in a wheelchair first, and that's their protocol, which is fair. Safety.
Right.
Obviously.
That makes sense. You have to build your core.
Right. You have to build
all
everything.
Activities of daily living.
Yes.
You got to get those.
And I'm not kidding. Shepherd Center, when I say they have it together, they have it together. I had my own team. I had a physical therapist, an occupational therapist. I had a counselor. I had a doctor. I had an on-call doctor. I had a music therapist. I had oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many people I had on my personal staff team, and I had a schedule. Like, blocked out. Like, 9 to 10 I went here, 10 to 11 I went here, 11 to 12 I got to eat lunch. I mean, it was literally, and it hung on my wheelchair. I mean, it was like a weekly schedule. And they are amazing in terms of just what they do in order to get your body to the strongest that it can be. So they are all about not letting a wheelchair or a disability define you. And that was so humbling for me, because I had just gone from a world of ability to a world of disability. Wow. And a lot of people don't really understand the world of disability unless they know somebody closely or unless they themselves have a disability. It's very hard to understand. And I mean, I'll tell you for certain, I had no idea. Like, it didn't even cross my mind, all of the struggles and all of the things that I would have to go through. And so being thrown into this world was absolutely crazy. But it was beautiful crazy. Because I got to learn so many different things. I got to meet so many different people that have now shaped who I am and have shaped where I am in my journey. And so a lot of that was really cool. And this is actually really cool. So when I was in Shepherd, one of the biggest things that I love to do was go to the art room. So they have an art room. This is crazy. So they have, I'm telling you, they have it together. They have an art room. They have a plant room, like for plants, like flowers, a garden. They have their own garden. So they have a musician, like a music teacher there. So if you do music, they have so many different things. So it's actually therapy. So it's really beneficial to be doing activities in the midst of doing all of your physical therapy, because you're not only physically trying to get better, but so much of it is mental, because your body isn't moving when you're telling it to move. So you're mentally exhausted. So you need that break. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorites was the art room. Yeah. So I actually got to paint. Oh my gosh, how did I forget this? I painted these canvases, these 3 canvases, and the teacher asked if I would allow her to put these in an exhibit that Shepherd was doing. It was an art show, and it was in Buckhead. And so my family and I got to take a field trip outside. I was in my wheelchair, and we got to go to this art exhibit. And my art was there, and they were auctioning it off, and all the profits were going to Shepherd. Oh, wow. And there were a bunch of different art pieces there, but it was so cool, and there were so many people there. And, that was really cool. I just remembered that. Yes. That is awesome. My love of painting and art runs very deep. I've always been like that, so.
And it's amazing. I still haven't forgotten about the EMT going about.
Yes, I'll have to tell you.
But it's amazing. So here is what you do. Honey+Olive Lettering, yes. Calligraphy, that's a whole body, that's an upper body, that's a muscle involved, that's thinking. So to go from not being able to do that and to see where you are now, growing, thriving business,
yes,
that is so exciting. You know?
Yes, and actually that you put it that way, that like gives me chills because to know that I like couldn't even brush my hair. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what so God has done. That's like, but God. You know, we talked about that.
Yes,
but God. Yeah. The doctor said you'll never walk. But God. You know?
It's a big but God. Yep.
Big but God. God's got a big. No, I'm going to get a drink of water, then circle back to the EMT.
Yes.
And then I think I'll just close it out. One more.
Yes. So I'll have to bring the EMT back. Okay. So I left Shepherd 5 weeks later, and I left walking to the surprise of many people. I left with ankle braces on my legs and arm crutches. So I still had some things that were helping me, but I walked out of there. And that was my goal. They always ask you, what are your 3 goals? And that was I said, all 3 of my goals are to walk out of here. And I got told, you need to make different goals. And I was like, no. I mean, I'll make 2 other ones, but that is one of my goals, and you will write it on my board, please. Right. And thank you.
That's right.
So, smile. So, I mean, I don't think they liked that it was there because they were afraid that it would hurt me psychologically. But I just knew that I was going to walk. It's just one of those things, like when you know. You know. Right. So I knew that was going to be there. So staring at that every day just gave me even more. Right. Yes, determination for it. So I walked out of there. It was amazing. I got to see all my nurses that helped me. Everybody was crying. Graduated. Oh my gosh, it was great. So I go home and I tried to do some semblance of my normal life. Well, life isn't normal anymore.
Yes.
And
your new normal. Right.
Yeah, a new normal. That's so real. And so I really didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, what on earth? And so both my parents were working. My sisters were in high school. So I just had to entertain myself all day. And I found myself watching a lot of TV and just trying to petting my dogs. Right. It was good. Walking around. I tried to walk around a lot, but my parents were very, my parents are very protective. And so they didn't want me to fall. So I had to limit that. But other than that, it was good. So circling back to the EMT. Okay, yes. Y'all, this is crazy. The EMT. Crazy. So, I think it was probably a month later. I was going through all of my really important paperwork because I'm big on organization. I think it's like that type A teacher thing in me. So I made a binder of all these important documents from the hospital because heaven forbid if I had to go back into a hospital again or something, I had documentation for it. And so it had all my x-rays in it, had all my doctor's notes in it. It had everything. And so we had gotten a packet from Shepherd Center. It was about 15 pages long. And I remember vividly, I was sitting in my kitchen, and my mom was cooking, and I was sitting in my kitchen of the house that I grew up in. And I'm looking at this packet, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like typing. There was a computer in front of me, and I'm typing all these words. They're really big. I didn't know what they were. And I was typing in a bunch of things, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I had that, and da-da-da-da. I'm like going through all of these things. And I flipped over to a page, and it was talking about transferring me from Milledgeville to Macon. And that is when I found out that I had actually died in the ambulance.
They didn't share that with you before?
No. No one had said a word. My parents had no idea.
Really?
No one knew. So I am the one that finds this out. Like, I was the first one that read this paper. So I'm reading this, and I'm not kidding, I fell to the floor. Like, fell to the floor, hysterical. Like, just started crying. My mom thought that I had fallen on accident, so then she's screaming. Right. And we're all just hysterical. And I told her, and luckily she comforted me, and she's like, but you're alive. Right. It was shocking just to know that, oh my gosh, I died. And then to just kind of remember everything, like, I was so peaceful right before that. What?
Yeah.
And so it all just kind of added up, and it was very overwhelming. But I kept reading, and it talked about the EMT, and the EMT obviously fills out some paperwork. So it said his name. So I actually went on Facebook.
Oh, really?
To try and find this EMT. So I had like been on social media, and I have a blog. I have kept it of when I was in Shepherd, and it's super old, and half of it doesn't make sense because, I was on a lot of pain medication, but it's really cool to see where I was. So I was using the internet while I was at Shepherd, but I somehow missed this. So my EMT had found me on Facebook and had messaged me.
Okay.
But it had gone into my others folder. You know that others folder that you don't see messages unless you like specifically go in it. So I went, like, I guess I was just, I don't even know. We'll say the Lord led me there. So I see it, and I like, again, lose all sense of everything. And he wrote like a paragraph about like, I will never forget you. Like, you stopped breathing, and I was praying over you. And then you woke up, and I was praying like the prayer of, I don't even know what, he was Catholic. So he was praying a prayer of one of the saints. And he was like, you woke up and I was over you. And like, I jolted up really quickly because I didn't want you to think I was like all up in your business. But like, I just want you to know that I'm praying for you, and I'm thinking about you. And so it was like this crazy, like, what? Wow. What on earth? And so it was really cool. It was really so cool. So just to know that, like, that whole, Right. Unreal.
God has a plan. God has a purpose.
Yes, he does.
I mean, we know that, that sounds so nice. God has a plan for me. Yes. Right. But when something like that, big event happens to you, and then you see where you were and how your journey to and through it, you're like, yeah, God obviously has a plan. And I'm excited to see where he takes you. And I think that's one of the joys that Tiffany and I have on this podcast, is seeing what God is doing with people, and it's just like, yes, we want to cheer them on and get excited. And wow, how do you come back from that?
That is so cool. I thought you were going to say something like, you're reading through the notes, and then all of a sudden you realize that there actually wasn't a paramedic there at all.
It was an illusion.
See, that would have been crazy.
Angel Gabriel.
Okay, so to circle back. That is how I got so involved in volunteering and in Shepherd. Is because of my experience. Because of everything that I have gone through and that I've overcome. It's really cool. And to be able to inspire people. I've actually been back to Shepherd.
You've been back, you said.
I have. Okay. I've been back. I was going to be a peer mentor there. But the Lord actually opened a different door. I'm currently at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Okay. And I'm working in their day therapy program with traumatic brain injury patients.
Wow. That is so amazing.
That is really cool. And I'm so excited. So not only is it incredible because it's one of my passions, but it's also going to help me in the future for my future career.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. And it's been amazing. And obviously it encompasses children because it's Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And something that I'm super passionate about. So it's also National Brain Injury Awareness Month too.
Oh,
so
that
they kind of lump them all together.
Yeah.
So that's been exciting. So I'll do that until December. It's a college program.
Oh, okay.
It's a college program, so it's very intensive and had to interview and do all that stuff. But it's been really cool. My first day is actually Monday.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
So I had to do training and everything. So getting into it now.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's very exciting.
Very exciting.
That makes me think of that verse in the Bible that talks about a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps.
Oh, stop. You're going to make me cry. Okay. So, in the hospital, that was like, in the hospital, when I was at Shepherd, that was my verse. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Yes. That's Proverbs 19:21.
Okay, so what we like to do, one of the things that we usually ask, what is something that you are doing to continually grow yourself as a leader in your business?
Yes. Okay. So I think there are a few things, but one of the things, especially growing leadership in my business, is learning humility. Mm-hmm. So I am...
No, just kidding.
So I strive to be humble every day, but as a human, I fail a lot. So as somebody who owns their business and as a business owner, I think it's incredibly important to be humble. Mm-hmm. And to not only humble yourself in front of the Lord, but in front of others as well. Mm-hmm. So in any small business, it can get very difficult, especially when you are working with customers. Mm. Some of them can be needy. Some of them can be super particular. Mm. Some will want to say, no, do it over again. I have been blessed to where I have not had that happen yet, mm-hmm. but I'm sure it will because that's just the nature of a small business. So in doing all of that, I try to go into every conversation with my brides or with my clients with humility. Mm. And so I've been reading a lot about humility in the Bible. I've been reading a lot of articles about humility and just how to grow myself in that and to cultivate that, I guess, just kind of character of being a humble person. Yeah. And so by doing that, it actually trickles into all of your life, which makes perfect sense. So I'm trying to be a lot more humble. So I guess in terms of leadership, that is where I'm working towards. And then also just trying to be a light in the wedding industry. In the wedding industry, it can be very stressful. It can be very tough.
Right.
Yes.
And so sometimes growing in the wedding industry isn't really thought about, I don't think. I think people really just try to get through the grind, right? Mm-hmm. And then don't really think about growing themselves as they go. I think, and I'm included in that, it's just to get through all of my stuff and then, I could do it better on my next order, or I could do it better next season.
Yes.
So, because it just gets so hectic. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the things to grow and to learn in this industry is just to even open up your network, make sure that you are being a light, and just always giving a sense of who you are with and who you are working with and who you are surrounding yourself with is being the best person that they can be, and they're giving you the best of themselves when they're giving you a service. And so that is what I try to do as my own small business owner. Mm-hmm. And I have been trying to realize certain areas, like if I catch myself like, maybe I shouldn't do that this time, and I'm going to fix it this time around. So kind of trying to catch myself in those things and to be more present in the growth. So, understanding that process and growing with everybody else in the industry too, that's also a big thing. So it's really fun. It's honestly a huge blessing because I love who I get to work with. I get to work with so many different creatives, from photographers to event planners to bakers. I mean, literally everybody. And so it's really cool to see all of these people come together and make somebody's dream come true. It sounds so cliche, but it's really true. It really is true.
Well, I'm so glad that you could come on our show and just share your story and your passions and just how God has just led you here. Not just here to the kitchen table at Tiffany's house, but just your story. Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was so nice to meet you.
So
I've
great.
loved getting to know you and hearing your story. It's been truly inspiring and amazing.
Yes, thank you. And thank you guys. This is such a great outlet.
That's it for today. Tune in next time as we continue to dive into life.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us at teaoflifepodcast.com or follow us on Instagram at teaoflifepodcast.
Until next time, in the words of Monty Python,
Make tea, not war.